MPN's Power Player is sponsored by ZDMS Dealer Management System, the heart of technology in your dealership and the engine that drives productivity and profitability. Schedule a demo today at zdms.com.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Greg Jones with Motorcycle and Power Sports News. Welcome to a brand new episode of Power Player. Today, our guest is Anthony Armsby. He is the VP of Marketing and E-commerce for Western Powersports. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. No, we appreciate you giving us some of your time. And, folks that might not know your role or know what you do there at Western, obviously are going to see that you're in your car currently. And that's just the nature of how busy, you are and the nature of what you do. So let's just start there. What are you currently up to? You're on the road already.
During our acquisition, through when Arrowhead bought us, prior to that, we had mainly been just the U.S. As far as territory. We had some presence in Canada. We had a really good presence in Australia, but not as much as Europe and South America. So since we acquired beer over in Europe, we've been doing a big push for global presence. So we've been growing our distribution footprint across the board. So I've been spending a lot of time in Australia, all throughout Europe, South America, Canada, just trying to build the relationships, build the brand, or I guess say build all the brands. We own 8 brands under us, but we also have, I'd say, about 11 to 18 house brands, so that fall under the Arrowhead, such as like All Balls, Vertex, Stins. And then we also have like our exclusive partners such as Alpine Stars and Scorpion and Shinko Tires. So yeah, we're pretty busy. Right now, I think globally we're supporting around 12,000 athletes around the world out of our Boise office. So yeah, it keeps me on the road a lot. I just got back from Australia, about a 2-week trip, and getting ready to leave after the Supercross Championship to head to Europe for 5 weeks. So staying busy for sure. And then just added the e-com side under me as well in the last, I'd say, 8 months. So really trying to build our D2C presence to create that push-pull through our dealer network and just get more brand visibility. Obviously, we do good at events, but having more of that product knowledge and videos and stuff like that about our products on a D2C site just benefits our dealer network and then our consumer base, just raising awareness to the brands.
The mobility of ZDMS is great. You're not limited to how many people can be in the system and being efficient and working the process. You don't have to be here in the store, and I think that means a lot. So with ZDMS, I can go home, I can take my laptop, I can log in at any time. If I'm on vacation, I need to check things. If you had 4 guys at a local race or we went and set up somewhere, you can do business as usual. For me, if I was out of town with the family, it's end of month. I want to make sure numbers are where they're supposed to be. I've got warranty claims hanging out. I can easily just go check with all my manufacturers, go right to my laptop, complete my repair orders, make sure end of month is clean and good. That's a huge thing for me, being a manager.
Well, Anthony, you just gave us a snippet of what you do, and it's certainly a lot, and we want to dive into some of that. But for starters, let's just kind of back up. For anyone who might not be familiar with yourself, or just kind of a little bit more about your role there at Western Powersports, tell the folks kind of how you got into powersports and what brought you to Western.
Yeah, Powersports has been in my blood and been in our family. Growing up in Arizona, dirt bikes, UTVs, boats, jet skis, it's pretty much, you have everything at your fingertips. So I'd say I've been in powersports my entire life. I think I got my first 50 when I was like 2 or 3. Took the training wheels off pretty much right after that. But career-wise, after college, I helped start a helicopter company with a mentor of mine. Did that for about 10 years. During that time, it's where I really gained my international skills, doing a lot of travel overseas, dealing with different cultures and different ways of doing business. So once we sold the helicopter company, one of my buddies, he was one of the owners of Rigid Industries, the lighting company down in Arizona, and they just happened to be, Western was one of their accounts, and I happened to get that account. And I eventually moved into OEM side, helping sign like the Polaris deal and Toyota and Honda. But Western was my, like, I get to keep this account because that was my fun account. They had the dirt bike track on there. Everyone there was like-minded people. So Rigid let me keep that, and Arizona just got too hot for me. I couldn't take it anymore. And Craig and the former owner and Terry Baisley called me and asked how soon I can get up there, and ended up taking over Scorpion brand for them, running that, and then also dived into Alpine Stars and then the Sedona Tire and Wheel, and then eventually moved over to the marketing side to take that on. So I couldn't be in a better place. I love our company. Obviously, we went through an acquisition. This is my third acquisition, so it's nothing different than I've been through. But being a family-owned company for over 60 years, it was definitely a culture change to a lot of people, which we did have some turnover in, but most of that was due to the length of people that had been there. Our median average tenure there was around 25 to 32 years at the time Craig sold his company. So most of them were already ready to retire within the last 10 years, but they're kind of just staking along because we were such a close family at Western. And once Craig, sold the company and did right by all his guys, there, a lot of them were like, okay, like, we don't feel bad now. We're going to retire. Craig doesn't own the company. So we're in a really good spot now because obviously we lost a lot of people with a lot of industry knowledge, probably hundreds of years. And over the last 2 years, I'd say we've done a really good job of selecting the right people to fill those roles. And just organizationally, I would say we've never been as strong as we are now in our 60 years. So it's really exciting, just what we have coming on.
Yeah, no, it certainly sounds like it. And, I do want to ask you about that merger process and maybe some of the growing pains there. But before we get to that, you just mentioned some of your background and a couple of the other roles that you have held at Western. Now you're on the marketing side, and has that always been something that you've wanted to do or transition into, or was there a previous role that you really enjoyed, but you are where you are now? But
yeah, I would say I love the creative side of marketing. I'd say on the sales side, and not trying to sound egotistical, that was just something that like came to me because I'm the type of person I wouldn't sell a product I don't believe in. And I've always partnered myself with companies like that. So it wasn't selling anyone on it. It was just building those relationships, having good product. So I think that's where it really benefited me, on that side, I'd have to say.
Anthony, again, you mentioned the merger, and you mentioned it's like the third one that you've gone through. So, what about this most recent one with Arrowhead has been a little bit different? What's gone well with it, and maybe where are some of those pain points that you guys have had to work through?
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of having, a private equity or acquisition comes in is just the resources difference that you have. I would say the other growing pain, and this wasn't just with our company, this happened with PU. I've talked with Paul Langley about this, and even companies outside of our industry. When you go from a family-owned company, they're typically ran by the owner, and he's making every call for everything. So a big struggle that you find is who owns what after that person
Right.
leaves, and we need to start writing policies and procedures for everything. So I think it's more of like an admin side of things of, okay, we got to catch up so we don't slip up. Craig was so involved in the company, which is all his right. He built the company with him and Terry, and Craig was an amazing person. If he needed the brand managers out in the warehouse working, like, we couldn't complain because Craig was out there working 17 hours a day just to get stuff out the door. And he was a really great leader like that. But now having different resources with Arrowhead and having sister companies that we can collaborate with, whether it be on sponsorship, campaigns, events, really benefits us from a cost standpoint of being able to share that. And then you also look at like the sourcing side of it too. If you look at just under Arrowhead, I think we have 14 companies, but under Genstar, a private equity company, we have, I would say, around 200 to 300 companies. So really looking at all the business units and seeing where we can capitalize on sharing resources, whether it be from resourcing raw materials, utilizing same factories, stuff like that. I've been through one acquisition that went horribly wrong, and I could say this was night and day difference.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I think you know pretty quick if it's the ship is going to sink, right? So
yeah, and ever since Bill Kennedy, our CEO of Arrowhead, came on, he was the CEO and board chairman of the board for multiple other Genstar companies. He's a best-selling author. His first book was the 80/20 CEO, and then he just had another book dropped 2 weeks ago. But having his leadership skills, I would say, has been huge to us. He too has put people in the right spots, whether it be on the strategy side, the sourcing side, finance side. And he's very much the type of leader that will give you the tools to do what you need to do. And if you make a good business case, you better deliver on it, but he'll support you the whole entire way. And if it's not going the way you want in the middle, he's the type that, no, stick it through. You made this call, you see it through. And whereas our previous CEO of Arrowhead maybe wouldn't have give us that leniency. He would have been like, cut bait right away. So it's been really nice having Bill over Arrowhead, and then having Travis Springsteen, our president of WPS, has been a night and day change in our leadership. Travis is very, very smart at what he does from a leadership standpoint, but he also knows to lean on the right people, whether it be marketing, product, operations, design, to make those right calls and judgments, which is really nice for us because we get to have that creativity, whether it's from marketing, it's from the new product development side, design side. And then they also give us a lot of tools from the operational side too. I think once you're a distributor for 60 years, you kind of get stuck in your ways when you're a privately owned company. And when you have somebody else come in and they're like, no, let's streamline this. Let's get machines in here to wrap our tires. Like, we shouldn't be having two guys out there wrapping 600 pallets of tires every day. So it's been really nice in that sense. And coming from both of their backgrounds, they have very big operational background, which has helped us a lot to just better service our dealers.
Oh, very good. So Anthony, I wanted to go back. You mentioned all the different brands that are under both Arrowhead and Western, and the responsibilities that you've got. You also mentioned being able to share resources and stuff. But how do you prioritize? Which brands you might be focused on more than others, and where some of those efforts go above and beyond some of the other brands that might need some help.
Yeah, it all stems down from our overall company initiatives for that year, that our executive team that we put together. We already started meeting in January for our 26 initiatives. So top down, that's what everybody in the company is focused on, is that initiative or one of those initiatives, and then what their role is into completing that initiative. Whereas before, we didn't really have that insight. It was all kind of up in Craig's head or Terry's head at the moment. Versus now it's collectively, everyone has that one goal, one vision on what we need to do to get to the next step. So it's really easy for us to prioritize based on what our initiatives are, and then our business strategies that we use based on Bill's 80/20 method. So it's been night and day different since we've implemented these different business plans and strategies, as well as really focusing on anywhere from 2 to 4 key initiatives overall for the company.
Obviously we go to an audience of dealers, and you guys are heavily involved in making sure dealers have product on the shelves. And right now we're in kind of a weird market, not just in power sports, but the whole world's kind of got this uncertainty about it, based on a whole number of factors. But how does that impact a company like Western, and how are you guys dealing with it internally, but also helping dealers through some of this stuff?
Yeah, I think our biggest goal is, our dealers are what built our organization. So they're our first and foremost priority, so to speak. So we want to, one, be completely transparent, especially now, like with the whole tariff issues. We told all our dealers, is you guys will know as soon as we know, as far as price increases, what we're getting, what we're hearing. And as we're going out into the field, we have all of our executive teams that are traveling out in the field, meeting with dealers actively every week. I just had my e-commerce team going out, working with dealers on how to better our websites to help them and give them the better tools that they have. Because in this time that we are in this economy, and I'd say post-COVID, we all have to get creative, right? Because there's a time where we had way too much apparel, specifically in the US, to where every gear brand was completely oversaturated. Every dealer was oversaturated, not wanting to buy. So then you got to get creative. Is one, how do you work with your dealers to either help promote geo targeting around their locations and helping drive that push pull through their dealership for our product, and then also working with like our international distributors on how we can benefit them too and move some stuff outside of our US market that was so oversaturated. So really looking at it at multiple ways, but at the end of the day, it's all about our dealer and what we can do to better them. So we've done multiple changes I'd say in the last 12 months on how we benefit our dealer. We started a Triple Crown program that is basically a benefit program for all our dealers based on their buy-ins.
Okay.
And this wasn't a, hey, you have to buy in to get to this program. No, we're already looking at your account. This is everything that you benefit from where you're at, and this is what it's going to take to get to that next level. And then these are your added benefits from it. We've also added a tire road hazard warranty program for our Shinko and Sedona tires, that's something that's never been done in Powersports. We've launched that about 4 months ago, and we're already seeing tremendous feedback from our dealers, and we're seeing that in the sales of the tires. It's very you can go get a nail in your tire, come back, and we'll replace it for free. And you just don't get that from any other company out there. So really looking at different ways on we can benefit from sales and products, operations. How do we best serve you and get your product to you in a better time frame? And then also, how do we help you from a marketing standpoint too? How do we help you and your customer base gain that trust in our distribution partner as WPS and want to buy all of our brands from us, based around our support for the dealer. And I'd have to say we've always been known as our rep force. Most of our dealers will choose to work with us because of their relationship with the rep. And we've had that from third-party companies going out into the field. We hear it from dealers themselves, they would rather either go that extra mile or even pay that little bit more on a specific part just to work with our customer service and our rep force. So the more we continue to grow, the more focus we're going to have on our dealer network, even on our dealer website, our B2B website. We're doing tons of changes to our current site right now, and then we're also developing a brand new website that we hope to launch, in about 12 months. This website for our dealers will basically be an interactive user experience for them. So they'd have their own profile on there. They would see where all their discounts are at, what programs are available to them, what benefits they have, how can they get to the next tier. They also have on like the Triple Crown program, they have their own dedicated hotline that goes straight into our service.
Okay.
So yeah, just really trying to look at all the different ways that we can help our dealers out. And part of that is going out into the field and getting that voice of customer directly from them, talking to owners, parts managers, the guys in the back that are actually installing the parts. Like, why are you choosing an OEM versus an aftermarket part that has been proven, year after year to beat the OEM product? And it's really just learning what they need and then pivoting to be able to give them those tools to succeed.
Yeah, no, Anthony, that was a great response. I appreciate that insight. And, I was going to follow that up with, how are you dictating some of these initiatives and, really putting that back out into the market for the dealers? And sounds like, you mentioned the reps being probably the biggest piece to that whole puzzle. So, how many reps does Western have out there, going into the dealerships?
Right now, that are actually physically going to the dealerships, I think we're right around 100, the 110 mark. And then we have about 23 dedicated inside sales reps that are working those regions that are just kind of either way remote, that a dealer or a rep can't get to them, every single week. And then we also have some accounts that are tandem to where they have an outside rep and an inside rep at all times that can help them. And even looking at like our operations, we went down, we had 7 warehouses. One of our initiatives last year was operational excellence. And in doing so, we really reviewed our warehouses. And in doing like the 80-20 from a SKU count point on what are movers, what are not movers, we realized we had over 3 warehouses of product that weren't moving, they weren't high sellers, and we had anywhere from 10 to 20 years of inventory worth of it. So we really did what we needed to dump that bad inventory. I shouldn't say bad inventory, the low moving inventory. And we consolidated down to 4 strategic warehouses. And so obviously like our biggest one, California being, the moto mecca of the US, we moved out of our California one, kept our Boise one and our Texas one. And a lot of people were upset on that of not getting that next day service. But what we got from the voice of the customer is if we can guarantee 2-day service no matter what on a full order, they would be more happy and confident in knowing they're going to get it in 2 days versus getting a mixed box where you might get half the product from California one day and then you might get something from Georgia, in 2 to 3 days. So that was our kind of main focus, was listening to the customer. We knew our operations needed to get better. There's a lot of things we can streamline. So we brought in Joe Ayette, who's our VP of operations, who's done a tremendous job bringing in good teams, good site managers to really streamline and focus our warehouse group to really run at, I don't want to say a lean, because we from a resource standpoint, we use what we need, but they're extremely efficient in the sense of like running lean, which has been really nice for us. And we're gaining that confidence again back from our dealers. And that's what we want at the end of the day.
Anthony, at the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned that you were just in Australia and you're on your way to Europe. You also mentioned that back in January, you guys were already looking at 2026, game plan and goals and things. So, what are some of those focal points as you guys continue through 2025? And then what are some of those things you guys are looking at into 2026?
I think for the most part, we have a lot of new product coming out between all of our house brands. So a big one for us is going to be just, obviously people know Fly, they know Firepower and Shinko, but some of like our Open Trail brand, which is ATV, UTV accessories. It's known in the dealer network, but we need to create that brand identity on the outside. So really focusing on those brands that we still need to continue building that brand identity and equity in, and hitting more events, building communities out there, whether it be in the overland community or ADV community or the street community. So one of the things that we implemented about a year ago is we brought in a team, what we call ASMs and BSMs. Basically, they're either soft good or hard part specialists, and they live in a region, and their whole goal is to support our dealers, our reps, and our regional within that region, but really building a community out there, going out on ride days with different groups and stuff like that, showing the quality of our product and letting people touch it, test it out there. So that's going to be a big initiative because we have so much new product pipeline coming out between all brands. So that's going to be a big initiative for us, is kind of expanding out of what we've normally typically done from an event sponsorship and marketing campaign standpoint.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys, you've always had a lot of cool stuff going on, but certainly between the merger and, some of the things just happening in the marketplace, I'm sure the last couple of years have been more than enough to keep you guys busy and focused at doing a better job. And like you said, just making sure dealers are getting what they need from you guys and whatnot. And the brands are doing what they need too. So with that, Anthony, I'll let you just add anything else that, we might not have touched on that you wanted to tell the audience here a little bit about.
Yeah, no, I think just kind of closing it out. Like I said, we're in such a good spot right now, and we are solely focused from a distribution and our brand side on the voice of customer and really delivering what the people want, what our dealers want, whether it be from the product, the service, um, marketing support, anything like that. We're in such a good spot right now, and the next 3 years is going to be a whirlwind. Like, people have never seen Western Powersports before, and we're extremely excited. And this whole new global effort that we're doing has been taking off like crazy. If we can replicate what we're doing fly globally with our other brands, and have that formula going on, we'll do really good. And I can't be sad right now because we're winning all over the world. And when it comes to fly, between Cooper Webb and RJ doing great here, and then the Coonan brothers and the DeCarli team in Europe and MXGP, and then our factory Honda team in Australia. I mean, they're winning every championship down there. So if we can keep this momentum up and keep creating that push pull through our dealers, that's all I want. I want people coming into our dealers saying, I want that fly product, or I want that Shinko tire, or what's new from Firepower this week. So yeah, and we encourage dealers, anyone, reach out to us with your needs. We try to stay transparent as possible. I think our communication from a distribution standpoint has a lot more clarity than it ever has before. Even from our dealer network to our town halls with our employees, we're so transparent from the executive team on what's going on, because it truly takes everybody within our organization, and not just WPS, but also Arrowhead, to really take us to the next level. And we're just excited to get things going and show you guys what we have in store.
That's excellent. Like I said a minute ago, it certainly sounds like you guys have a lot going on, and it's going well. So definitely wish you guys continued success there, and hope that you'll keep us updated as that stuff occurs. But again,
Yeah,
Anthony,
definitely.
yeah, really appreciate the time today. And again, I know we caught you on the road, but like I said, enjoy the race there, and then safe travels over to Europe. But we appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, sorry for the bad background here.
All good. I'm not sure mine's much better, so it's all good.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, and yeah, look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Absolutely. Well, all right, guys. We appreciate all of you watching this episode of Power Player. Again, we want to thank Anthony Armsby over there at Western Powersports. Make sure you guys are checking out everything that they've got going on, because like we just discussed, there's a lot. And as always, make sure you're checking out motorcyclepowersportsnews.com for more great powersports content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.